In August 2018, our family was away on vacation together. My husband, our 3 sons and my friend. The next day, I woke up feeling a slight stabbing pain in my chest. As time went on, my breathing became difficult and the pain in my chest got worse. I thought it was from not getting enough rest. I went to the local pharmacy to buy some medicine. The lady at the pharmacy suggested I go to the emergency room to get checked out. I told her I just hadn't rested well. I thanked her for her concern. An hour later, the pain began to increase and was accompanied by an overwhelming sense of dread. I even said to my husband, "I'm going to die today." His response was the same as everyone else's, telling me not to overstress. The scenery was filled with all kinds of wood carvings and artwork, which my son was curious about. There were also great little stores and restaurants. I didn't want to ruin my family's vacation, but I couldn't take the pain anymore and I asked my husband to take a cab to take me back to the hotel. My breathing was getting weaker and weaker, and I was in a lot of pain. My husband thought it was worse than he thought and he immediately called the emergency services. It was horrible, I just knew I was going to die. I was taken straight to the emergency room. My last thought was, "God, if I have to die, please take away my pain." Suddenly, I felt relieved. I left my body and I no longer felt pain. I looked at myself lying on the hospital bed. Suddenly, a man appeared next to me. I knew it was Jesus. He didn't say a word, but I could feel the love radiating from him. Jesus put his hand on my shoulder and a tunnel appeared in front of me. Jesus guided me into the tunnel. We moved at a very fast pace, moving faster and faster. I began to feel scared when the speed slowly began to decrease. As we left the tunnel, I saw a bright light. I can't describe how bright the light was, and even looking directly at it didn't hurt my eyes. You could feel the love and contentment. I could feel other souls around me. But I couldn't see anyone other than Jesus. Here, everyone's life was recorded. In one scene, I saw myself. I was about 16 years old at the time. I lied to my parents that the school had organized an off-campus activity and I would not be home until very late. In fact, I was attending a party with my boyfriend for his friends. As I watched this, I realized that my mother also knew that I was lying. My mother did not expose me, and I could still feel what my mother was feeling inside. I felt ashamed, but Jesus did not judge my behavior. Jesus told me, "Now you must go back." I, like many others, pleaded to stay here. My heart condition was causing me great pain. Then Jesus explained to me, "I still have much to learn on earth." Then he showed me something. I saw myself in my old age. My hair had turned white and I was surrounded by my grandchildren. The grandchildren were playing happily around me. I was enjoying the state I was in. Jesus told me he would give me the light as a gift, which not everyone can get. Jesus sent me back to earth. I regained my breath. The doctor soon came into my room and told me how lucky I was. The nurse told me I had a sinus arrest. Sinus arrest is the most severe type of cardiac arrest and it is said that only 2% of people recover from it. When I got home, I had a thorough checkup and found a small aneurysm on the left side of my heart. Since then, I have been going to the hospital for regular checkups. Fortunately, the condition did not get any worse. People always tell me how lucky I was that day, and I just want to tell them it wasn't luck, it was God. I know that God saved me and God was always there for me. After hearing the first story, what do you think? Feel free to tell me in the comments section. The second story is also from a woman. The story took place in the summer of 1998, it was a sunny weekend. It was also my cousin's birthday, and my cousin had set the party at an outdoor club. There you could choose to hike or paddle, so that everyone wouldn't be too bored. At that time, one of my classmates was hanging out at my house, so I invited her to go with me. Due to the traffic jam, we arrived at the river later than everyone else. Some of them were hiking in the mountains and some were kayaking. My friend and I also reserved kayaks. My friend had never been kayaking before and she was a little scared. I reassured her that I had done it once before and it was safe. Since we were late, they only had one canoe left. I had never paddled a canoe before and I wasn't very worried, instead I became very excited. After we set out for a while, I realized that canoeing was very different from kayaking. I had a hard time controlling the balance of the canoe. I was in the front seat and my friend was in the back seat. I was not wearing a life jacket, in fact, no one was wearing one. Because it was a small river, the water wasn't very deep. The management also reminded us before we got on the boat that we had to take our life jackets to the river, and it was up to us whether we wanted to wear them or not. It was even joked that no one had ever worn a life jacket before and everyone laughed. When we set off for some time, the current started to become swift. We couldn't keep our balance and it all happened so fast that our boat capsized straight away. I got trapped under the boat. It took me a long time to get out from under the canoe. I started screaming for help. When I opened my mouth, all the water flowed into my mouth. I felt it getting harder and harder to breathe. I felt myself slowly sinking and I hoped someone would save me. I felt the cold and I couldn't see anything. At this time, I thought about my family. What would happen if I died? My friends would tell my family about my death and how sad my family would be. I know everyone gets better with time. But I'm only 19 years old and I have so many plans for the future. There are still so many places in the world that I haven't visited. I haven't experienced the sweetness of love yet. I have yet to experience the joy of motherhood. Why did this happen to me? Now I am left alone in the darkness. Slowly the surroundings became calm. Without the panic I had before, and I now had only one thought, to give up the struggle and accept the fact. I felt it was a relief. Suddenly, I felt someone grabbed me and lifted me over my head, and I left the water. I could feel the warmth of the sun. When I opened my eyes, I saw a tree. The breeze blew through the leaves. It was as if the leaves were my fingers, and I felt like I was part of the tree. A little bird began to sing in front of me, and I could not only see it, I could feel its joy. I could also see at the same time what was happening down below, where my friend had just climbed out of the water. I also saw myself, and she was lying under the water, no longer breathing. This didn't seem to be a problem for me. I had said goodbye to my past life. There was no pain or sorrow here, only love and happiness. My friend was screaming for help. My friend was wearing a life jacket, so she was not in danger. Then, I heard a voice, "What do you want to do next?" I understood that I needed to make a choice. Choose a new way of life or go back to Earth. I knew God was with me because I could feel His love. This love is so strong. I was so torn in my heart that I didn't know how to make a choice. There was no one to guide me to make a decision, and the matter was entirely up to me. I saw my friend's desperate face and I thought of my family. I made my own choice. I heard my friend's voice again. She handed me the oar and told me, "Hurry up and grab the oar." After I grabbed it, my friend pulled me out of the water. I could finally breathe again. I was coughing very hard. The experience was very painful for me. After we met up with the rest of my family, they asked me what had happened. It was a really hard thing to explain, and I tried to tell them the whole story. They didn't realize the seriousness of the situation. They also thought I was exaggerating, and reminded me that the water here is not very deep, not deep enough to drown a person. They didn't understand what I was going through underwater. I was very tired, and I didn't want to keep arguing with them like this. I stopped trying to convince anyone of my experience. My family thought I was lying, and that was even more painful for me. It's very stressful when you don't have anyone to share it with. For 2 months after it happened, every time I closed my eyes to go to sleep, I would hear the sound of water in my ears. It was a situation that caused me a lot of pain. Later, I went to the hospital and the doctor prescribed me some sleeping pills. To this day, I am still afraid of everything about the movement of water. I know what it feels like to die, and if you have a family member or friend who tells you that they have had a similar experience, choose to believe them. They have been through more than you can imagine. After this event, I became even more determined in my faith. Heaven is real and God is real. He saved me, and He is the one who gave me a second life. I believe I stayed because there was so much more for me to accomplish. I am grateful for that, and I thank my best friend because she always believed in what happened to me.